Naamsa's SA Autoweek is the largest trade show of its kind in South Africa. This year, Cars.co.za was the official media partner of the event, and we set up this rather stylish podcast studio. Our very own Chiro de Siena and guest journalist from CNBC Africa, Fifi Peters, played hosts and over 3 days interviewed all the key figures in South Africa's motoring industry.
Now, in a market where everyone is pretty miserable right now because the consumer has been stretched and has not been buying the same number of new cars, as it were, even used cars, as many people had been accustomed to, We Buy Cars is not displaying the same amount of problems. In fact, the company having gone from a startup around 20 years ago to one of the hottest stocks on the JSE, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, up 60% so far this year. We do have the co-founder as well as CEO Faan van Walt joining us from SA Autoweek in the Cars.co.za podcast booth. Welcome.
Fifi, thank you. It's an honor to be here.
And you do have a smile on your face right now, Faan, in an industry where perhaps most people are frowning. I suppose the question is about the secret sauce and what We Buy Cars is doing so differently that is giving you more peaceful nights of sleep.
Yeah, it's been a long journey. In fact, it's been 25 years since we started way back in 2001. And for us, you know, we've kept it organic. We never tried to grow beyond our means. We never geared the business and put a lot of debt into it, which I think is part of the secret sauce. People who have too much debt in their business, you know, in good times, they just survive. But in bad times, they struggle.
Sure.
Whilst if you're conservative, you know, in good times, you really thrive. So yes, we've been really blessed. The business has grown tremendously over the years, beyond expectation. People often ask us, tell us about the vision you had way back, the plans you had for this business. And to be honest, we really never even dreamed of selling 15,000 cars a month, which is more or less where we are currently at.
Sure.
And so it's been a very interesting journey, but we never planned too far ahead because it's a dynamic market. Things change quickly and you have to be agile.
You know, in terms of setting expectations that are not achievable, some have been questioning the target that you do have for the amount of sales in cars that you're hoping to achieve in the next 4 or 5 years. I remember reading one of your listing statements before you came on the JSE, and you had targeted around 23,000 cars a month in the next 4 to 5 years. You're currently on 15,000, and some question how you will achieve that and whether that is realizable, but you don't.
No, it's just more of the same, really. I mean, a few years back, around 4 years ago, Transaction Capital bought a majority stake in our business, and I recall speaking to one of the founders there, and at the time, you know, we did around 6,500 cars, and I told him, listen, I'm here for the long run. I'll definitely stick around until we do 10,000, and that came and went, and nothing has really changed. We stick to our knitting. We advertise aggressively and we plow back everything we have into this business. I enjoy waking up in the morning and going to work. There's always nice new challenges to have. We have a exceptional team of professional people working there who enjoy what they do. We are making a difference. In a sense, we're a tech company. Meaning that, you know, the technology we've built in-house has now grown and developed to be very, very sophisticated. And it's all to do with determining values of vehicles, lead management systems, sales management systems, finance systems, and gathering as much data as possible on the pool of vehicles that we have in the country so that you can accurately determine the value of a vehicle. I recall way back at the beginning of We Buy Cars, you know, we advertised mainly in the newspapers. We had this funny picture of me and Dirk with hands full of cash and stating in the advertisement, cash for your vehicle,
Sure.
with our phone numbers. And we used to get many calls every day of people, intending to sell their vehicles, and we would write down the details of every car in a book. That was the beginning of our lead management system, which today is extremely sophisticated, but that was the birth of a lead management system. And we had to figure out how to manage those leads, because they would call you with any sorts of vehicle, and sometimes you get a call and you haven't even got a clue what this car looks like.
Sure.
It was at the beginning of the internet. The marketplaces like Cars didn't exist back then, and you couldn't just go online and check the value of a vehicle and see what they were advertised on. So you had to know your stuff. And I used to keep all the advertisements for vehicles like you had in the magazines, and to verify vehicle details, and you would often make a mistake. So that's why data is so important. It is the lifeline of a business. You can really burn your fingers if you don't know what you're doing when purchasing a vehicle.
All right. Of course, Dirk is here. He's standing outside of the Cars.co.za booth. It's an intimate booth. We'll probably, hopefully, catch up with him offline as well. What's it like working with your brother?
It's absolutely a blessing and an honor.
Stressful.
Not many.
Sometimes.
Not many people have this privilege, but it's absolutely stressful. There were times when we wanted to kill each other.
I can imagine sibling rivalry.
Because we're so different.
Sure.
And the fact that we're different is also part of our success. There's something called ambidextrous leadership, where ambidextrous means you can write with both hands, and you need both hands. And Dirk is somewhat of a dreamer, a visionary, a thinker. He reads a lot, and he's always exploring new opportunities. So right at the beginning, when we advertised in the newspapers, we didn't have a website. And Dirk came to me and said, listen, we need to get a website. Mm-hmm. We weren't called We Buy Cars back then. We were called Micro Motors.
Okay.
And I eventually agreed, just to humor him, and never thinking that a website is necessary for a business. Can you believe it? And we brainstormed and said, okay, but what should be the name of the website? And that's where we came up with the name We Buy Cars.
How?
So, we just said, okay, what do we do? The website must describe what do we do. We want to buy cars, so We Buy Cars. And luckily, the name was available. We registered it, trademarked it, and the name served us extremely well over the years. So that's typically Dirk. He comes up with things like AI. I never knew AI existed. He came and said, listen, we need artificial intelligence. We need analytics. We need Google AdWord campaign. All those things today that we take for granted, he came up with that way before anyone else knew of it.
Sure.
For instance, a while back he said, listen, we must take cryptocurrency as tender on vehicles. He's always coming up with lots of ideas, and then you have to sift through them.
Right now?
We can, yes, but no one wants to pay in Bitcoin yet. But we would certainly be ready the moment that's there.
Okay.
Coming back to me and Dirk, we very different, but that's also part of our success. And the reason is we respect each other. At the time when there's conflict between us, we respect each other well. It's like a marriage, you got to not stay angry, and everyone means well. So we have our best interest at heart.
I mean, in terms of the dynamics that you are describing, a lot of people do say that is a very important formula for success, having a visionary and also having an operations person. And clearly, based on what you have been able to achieve so far as an organization, it's working in your favor. Let's circle back to technology, and you even made mention of artificial intelligence. What is the most important technology at We Buy Cars right now? Where are you putting most of your focus?
Let's say the most important thing in We Buy Cars are the people. You cannot run a business without committed, dedicated people who share your philosophy and your culture for business. So that aside, yes, technology is paramount. We live in an age where you cannot do anything with proper systems, and we've been proactively developing systems over years. We have a very large IT team consisting of nearly 200 people, including developers, back-end, front-end, mobile developers, marketers, all of that, graphics, etc., etc. So, the worst thing that can happen in a business is when your systems are down or you're experiencing downtime or you cannot transact. So we've got various integrations with RTMC, to the native system, with banks to do payments within milliseconds. So regardless what bank you're with, we can settle your vehicle, we can pay you. It's done seamlessly. So there's a huge component of trust that we've established with the market over the years. And to protect people's data, you got to have robust systems that's not been penetrable, and you want to manage leads and make absolutely sure that everyone who approaches you, get top service. And there's a lot of automation that happens in there. We used to have call centers with people managing various aspects of lead management, and over the years we've now automated large portions thereof, and the system just performs better than an individual.
Sure.
There's no biases, there's no tea time, the system doesn't work stick to working hours. So for instance, we have WhatsApp chatbots that will chat with you and gather information at your convenience, wait for you until you respond again, gather information, which all informs our system and prioritizes leads and help us determine accurate prices. Because the last thing we want is to offer someone a price that's too low, because your reputation is out of the window, or give you a too high a price, because then you're very excited and they're only to be disappointed later. So you want to be accurate. Accuracy is key.
But does it happen, though, where there are those mistakes? I mean, I remember trying to sell my car during COVID, the pandemic, lots of uncertainty. I didn't quite know whether I was coming or going. I opted not to at the end of the day. But in terms of pricing, based on the consumer experience of taking pictures of the different positions of the cars and having the technology value it, does the tech ever get it wrong?
No, absolutely. You do get it wrong. In fact, we quite often would buy a vehicle and sell it at a loss, about 5-6% of the time. And you don't want to make a mistake, but we also see that as part of marketing and us pushing boundaries. If you sell all your vehicles at a decent profit, it means you're not taking enough risk. So sometimes, yes, you do make a mistake. There's two types of mistakes you can make when determining a price on a vehicle. It's either you get the condition wrong, so you think it's better than what it is, there's some hidden faults on the vehicle, or you simply just got the price wrong. You paid too much for a perfect car, and there's others available in the market at lower prices. Then you just you got to take the loss and move on. You can't sit and wait it out. So there's that, and then there's market dynamics. For instance, you talked about COVID.
Sure.
It was a time when vehicle prices dropped, and everyone was very, very conservative post lockdown, and everyone just wanted to get cars out of their showrooms to get the cash flow going again, and shortly thereafter prices increased significantly, and over the following 18 months, it's the highest price inflation that we've ever seen. So much so that you had equity in your vehicle after buying it. You could sell it at a profit, which I've never seen before. But then it normalized again, in the following years, and we probably now more or less where we were before COVID.
Some people's normal is other people's expensive still. I mean, what is your take on car prices right now?
Yeah, I think manufacturers quite often look at South Africa and don't really understand what the consumer's needs are. There's way too many models and derivatives available for sale at too expensive prices. So we've seen many manufacturers lose market share over the last decade. If you look at many of the German brands, they've more than halved their market share simply because they didn't have affordable offerings, whilst new entrants really gained traction, and those entrants were economical. They came in at a price point which just made sense. You could now, if you look at certain Chinese brands, you can buy brand new vehicles, premium vehicles for under 500,000 rand, that for a non-Chinese competitor you'd pay 800,000 rand. So the quality, people have concerns about the quality. The quality has really stepped up in recent times. I wouldn't say it's the same quality as certain Japanese or German brands, but it's, let's call it 80% or 90% there, but at 60% of the price, and therefore it makes sense, and it comes with all the bells and whistles, whatever you can think of, reverse cameras, whatever, sunroofs, all of that. It's all there. All the tech is there.
Driverless or not yet? Not yet. Because let's talk about that. Because I mean, when you talk about the German cars in a South African context, German cars, we know what we think about there. You think about your Benz, your traditional, your legacy brands, which is a big theme here. Just the legacy brands, just reflecting on the history of the car industry, and also the newer brands, the reference to the Chinese that you were making. In terms of We Buy Cars, what are you buying more of right now?
It's something we analyze continuously, and it's always interesting when new makes and models enter the market. You don't have any data, so you got to start trading those vehicles and seeing how the market responds to it. But the beauty of the used vehicle industry is, when a used vehicle comes into the market, someone bought this vehicle brand new. So someone thought, I'll buy this vehicle brand new, and therefore there will be someone who will buy it used. The big question is just at what price, but at least that. So even though we haven't yet traded some of these vehicles, once they come our way, we still have data on what they were sold new, but we also gather data from all the marketplaces to see what they are trading for and historically. So it helps not to have only the current data. For instance, if it's a scarce make and model, we had a Bentley a week ago, and it was difficult to determine a value on it because there wasn't any. Well, there was just one or two.
Had a Bentley,
and the way we determined the price is going back in time and look at over the last 2 years, because we can see that the ones that were advertised in the market over the last 2 years, and then there's a lot more volume that you can look at and trust more of those statistics. So that helps you to determine a price.
Out of interest, who is the seller?
No, well, we buy many of these exclusive vehicles. So Bentleys, Ferraris, Porsches. Everyone develops the need to sell a vehicle at a certain point in time, and we pride ourselves in offering everyone the service, regardless of where you are located. We have buyers across South Africa, even in the smallest towns, so the footprint is nationwide and the service is immediate. So people love popping in at our buying pods or contacting us, and we come and visit you where you are, and you get an immediate evaluation and a firm offer. Because it's always, people say, okay, let's have a look at the book value, but the book does not buy the vehicle. So you want to actually have a firm offer, and then okay, I can work with this amount. But to get back to your question on the makes and models, we measure the percentages quite closely, and it's very interesting to see the funnel on the, let's say, between a Ford Ranger and a Toyota Hilux, or a Polo and a Suzuki Swift, for instance, to see how many leads you get in, how many of those you actually go and evaluate, what's your hit rate on it as a percentage, and then further, how long does these vehicles take to sell, and what are the profit, because it's all different. But our hit rate on leads sits between 15 and 18% roughly, so that's more or less a ballpark, and that's on all makes and models.
Sure.
It's quite seldom less than 15, and on certain makes it's far higher than 18%. For instance, if you approach us with a Nissan MP200 today, they are so popular. Chances are over 13% that we would actually end up buying your vehicle.
I know there was a time when you made your first move into the Dome. Obviously, that was under the previous partnership, from my understanding. But I know that there were a lot of Joburgers and Gautengers who were not very happy with that, because that was our destination where we go and watch concerts and do everything else. But how has that worked for you?
It's really been pivotal for us.
Sure.
We saw that as an opportunity to really make a statement and to get a footprint. So for us, there are certain cost drivers in the business. The one is people, the other one's facility, and the other one is marketing. Those are the three biggest cost drivers in our business. And if you pay too much for a facility, then it really hampers your business. So we don't really want to pay more than 1,000 to 1,500 rand per vehicle per month, in the form of rent or the cost of the facility. So the dome was a step for us. It was a bit of a leap, but it turned out really, really well. Currently, we're selling 2,500 cars plus from the dome. We have a lot of space outside and across the road. You'll recall the big parking area on the northern side of the dome. It's about 7 hectares where, when there were big shows, that's where everyone parked and then they walk across the bridge. So that
The good old days are gone.
yes, and so that's an area that we're now busy developing. We're getting into commercial vehicles, so that's becoming our commercial vehicle floor. So lots of space. So it's not even fully utilized yet, but it turns out to be a fantastic decision.
So let's also talk about your commercial relationships, because you are clients or buyers from Cars.co.za, but in the same vein, you guys also play in the same space. Just talk to us about that dynamic.
Look, the commercial vehicles are mostly trucks and small and larger trucks that we deal with. But we do not really compete with Cars.co.za in the sense that, we're not trying to be a marketplace. Our website is purely a place where you can see all the inventory and you can transact there. You can, in fact, subscribe there, get notifications on certain vehicles, and you can physically pay the vehicle and participate in our auctions. So that's what it's there for. But for the consumer, a place like Cars.co.za is a fantastic place to see what's in the market. If you're on our website, you'll see our cars advertised there, but you can't really compare it to other sellers of vehicles to see, is there something better there? What's the market on this type of vehicle? And therefore, we advertise our vehicles from Cars.co.za to show the consumer, listen, have a look, compare, and find your right vehicle. So it's nice to have a place where the bulk of what's available in the market is being advertised and be amongst those sellers.
How much do you spend on advertising?
Oh,
Yeah,
a lot. Too much. R1 million a day.
R1 million a day. And
Yeah.
return?
Well, it's
15,000 cars a month. If we measure it in that way.
yeah. Look, we're a lead generating business.
Sure.
So we try and generate as many quality leads as we can, and try and serve those clients very, very quickly with accurate information. And it's picking up all the time.
Last question. What's your favorite car right now? What you driving?
I love Toyota Land Cruisers. I have a collection. So
How many?
I've got about 20. So from the oldest to the newest.
Okay.
There's still a few gaps in between that I'm looking for, but I'm quite particular about the quality. So I'm a real Land Cruiser fan.
Faan, I think that a lot of people are a fan of yourself and your brother and the business that you have built. Thanks so much for joining us today on the podcast.
It's only a pleasure. Thank you.